Good morning, everyone, and welcome back for day 2 of our lesson, the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, God of the fearful. Yesterday, we talked about how it must have felt to be Isaac on the iconic scene of Abraham offering his son on the altar. But how did it feel to be the boy on the altar? There is no doubt in my mind that filled his mind with fear. There were multiple moments in Jacob's life, in Isaac's life, that left him with fear in his heart. Isaac went through a lot of suffering and loss. When we read through his story, we see a very meek and humble man who continually dealt with things that left kind of the world against him. He went through this situation that we already talked about yesterday when he was 15 to 20 years old. There was no doubt that he was the light of his mother's eyes. There is no doubt in my mind that his parents loved him and just doted on him constantly. He was no doubt very, very close to his parents. At the age of 37, he lost his mother. His mother passed away. Sarah died when Isaac was still a very young man for the time. He was not even yet married. And in response, Isaac went to a place that is described as, "Thou God seest me." It was a well that Hagar had encountered God when fleeing from Isaac's mother, Sarah. This place that was called God, you see me, is the place where Hagar went to, that well that she knelt beside when Ishmael and she were cast out from Sarah and Abraham's home. There at the place where the mother of his half-brother once got comfort, Isaac sought comfort from God who sees the brokenhearted. When we are at our lowest point, when we are afraid, grieving, sick, depressed, and at odds with those that we love, maybe we feel betrayed, maybe we feel alone, God sees us there. 3 years later, God orchestrated Isaac's marriage to Rebekah, and the Bible tells us that he was comforted over the loss of his mother. This was something that hit him so hard that it was 3 years later before he felt like he could get through it, he could get over it. This loss of his mother was extremely, extremely painful for him. Not long after his marriage, Isaac faced the death of Abraham. When you have parents that are 100 years older than you, 90 and 100 years older than you, it is not surprising that they both passed away while he was still very young. Immediately after Abraham's death, what did Isaac do? He went back to that same exact place that he had gone to grieve over his mother. Isaac went back to that well and he dwelt there. The awareness of God's presence there must have comforted him. The same verse says that God blessed Isaac after Abraham's death. We often think of blessing in monetary terms or in physical blessings, but surely Isaac's greatest need at that time was comfort over the loss of his father and assurance of God's continued presence. Isaac lived with the constant awareness. He chose to dwell in that place where he had received comfort from God. He chose to grieve in a place where God could be his comfort, where he felt close to God. He took his grief right to what he considered an open place for he and God to commune. God, you see me. God, you know me. God, you see what's going on in my life. You know exactly what I need right now. I need your comfort. I need your grace. That would instill in him a change. He went from fear and tremble as far as being afraid to being more reverent fear of God. It was a godly fear that he began to experience in that place. It would also be a comfort to a man who was grieving. Abraham, that great hero of faith, surely was a blessing and a guiding force in Isaac's life. I'm sure this 3-person family was extremely close together. Isaac would have to step out on his own, but why he stayed there, why he chose to be in that place to receive God's blessing, he needed to know that God was with him. And that is what he found in that place. Isaac had to learn to face his fears alone after his father's death. It can be a hard thing for us to experience loss over a parent or a voice in our life that was extremely important to us, that was influential in our walk with God. And many times, if we're not careful, we will backtrack in our faith and become very afraid. Oh God, I don't know if I can hear your voice without this person to speak to me. I don't know if I can pray on my own and get the same results as when this person prayed with me. And that's exactly what Isaac was dealing with in this moment. And just as his fear of God went from an afraid, I don't know him as much as my father does, I don't know if he's going to bless me, I don't know if he's going to ask me to sacrifice something I'm not willing to give up. There is an unknown in serving God, but there is also a great trust that can be built. And that's what Isaac began to develop in these low parts of his life. So if you find yourself today in a low part of your life, I challenge you to reach out to God, that He sees you, know that He is with you, and begin to build a very beautiful relationship built on trust and not on fear. God bless you today, and I'll see you back again tomorrow for part 3.